Hello everyone, my name is Robius and welcome to a new episode of Assassin's Creed: The Real History. In this series, I compare events in a select character's life within one of the Assassin's Creed games to the actual history the individual lived through. As always, beware of major story spoilers. For today's episode, we will be taking a look at the history of the Ottoman admiral, cartographer, and geographer known as Piri Reis. As is customary, I'll begin this episode by sharing with you his pre-game history, which will inform us on his background prior to ACR, then his in-game history, which we see depicted in the game, and lastly we will analyze the differences between what happens in the game to the real historical events of the individual's life. Starting with the pre-game history, Hajj Ahmet Muhyiddin Piri, better known by the title he would earn later in life, Piri Reis, was born sometime between 1465 and 1470, either on the European side of the Ottoman Empire in Gelebolu or in central Anatolia in Karaman. His father was Hajj Mehmet Piri, and his mother's name remains unlisted historically. The title of Hajj was granted both to Piri and his father since they both completed their Islamic pilgrimage to Mecca, referred to as the Hajj, during the dedicated period. The general information on Piri's life is rather scattered, and essentially nothing is known about his childhood. The next confirmed historical event in his life was when he followed his uncle Kemal Reis and entered in the service of some privateering groups who were government supported. In this post, starting around the early 1480s, he participated in multiple naval confrontations and wars. His direct service to the Ottoman Empire in this time was during the Wars of Spain, the Republic of Venice, and the Republic of Genoa respectively. Piri served the Ottoman Navy for approximately 30 years, in which time his uncle was made an admiral by the Sultan Bayezid II in 1495. Following all these years of service and combat alongside his uncle, when Piri learned that Kemal Reis had died in 1511 after his ship was wrecked in a Mediterranean storm, he returned to Gelebolu and started to study further on the topic of navigation. Following 5 years of studies, Piri returned to the seas officially as a captain within the Ottoman fleet in 1516. In his new promoted position, he was involved during the Ottoman conquest of Egypt and also played a role in the Ottoman siege of Rhodes, which ended with the expulsion of the Knights Hospitaller and led to their eventual relocation to Malta. Despite these military confrontations, Piri also managed to partake in some navigational expeditions, which permitted him to practice his cartography as he developed a wide array of maps. In 1524, he was given the duty of escorting the Grand Vizier Pargali Ibrahim Pasha to Egypt. Soon after, he presented the Sultan, Suleiman I, with his book of navigation, which is considered to be one of the most famous cartographical works of his time and contained 434 pages with around 290 maps. In 1547, in recognition of his service, Piri was given the rank of Reis, which was the Ottoman equivalent to being an admiral, and represented the name by which he is historically recognized. In addition, he was also made the admiral of the Egyptian fleet and commander of the Ottoman fleet in the Indian Ocean. Within this new post, Piri applied his many years of military experience in a variety of other military confrontations, such as the recapture of Aden and Muscat from the Portuguese, the capture of the islands of Kish and Hormuz, and the occupation of the Qatar Peninsula and the island of Bahrain with the purpose of blocking out the Portuguese from holding any Arabian coastal positions. Piri Reis eventually returned to Egypt at the approximate age of 90. The local Ottoman governor of Basra, Kubad Pasha, demanded that Piri supported him in yet another campaign against the Portuguese in the Persian Gulf. The old man refused, and therefore the governor had him beheaded in 1553 for his opposition. In summary, the differences between Piri Reis' actual life and his representation in Assassin's Creed Revelations were very few. Firstly, his depiction as a member of the Ottoman Assassin Brotherhood was fictionalized. Secondly, his involvement with the assassins, both in a naval position and in his creation of bombs, were also examples of creative license on the writer's part. Lastly, Piri had no involvement in the fictional battle which took place in Derinkalu. Since most of these changes were superficial and mainly related to the base struggle between the Templars and Assassins, which formed the main plot of the series, I would say that his in-game representation was otherwise rather accurate. The missions involving his maps and discoveries of new regions were a great representation of his cartographical endeavors, and the segment where Yusuf refers to him as Piri Reis prior to his acquisition of the rank of admiral was a nice tidbit, since he was best known by his military title for many years historically.
Piri Reis, I think I have seen some of your earliest work.
Reis? Did Yusuf Tazim send you? That sounds like one of his exaggerations.
And with that final fact, we have finished another episode of Assassin's Creed: The Real History. I hope you all enjoyed this video, and if you did, I highly recommend you try one of the Assassin's Creed games. Thank you all for watching. Please leave any suggestions for future characters from any of the Assassin's Creed games that you'd like me to cover in the comment section below. Please rate, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you all in a future historical episode.